Dreamwalker here of Dreamwalker Wisdom, and I am super excited to be kicking off this new series of videos about one of my favorite tools, and it's called journeying. Journeying is the process where we bring ourselves to a state of consciousness that allows us direct interface with spirit and spiritual realms of existence. And the reason why that is so important is because there are a lot of spiritual paths out there that put a middleman between you and that experience. And you have to rely on someone else to get those messages and to kind of spoon feed them to you, which runs the risk of your spiritual path being tainted by their ego. Instead, journeying puts that power back into your hands. It puts the control back on you so that you're the one having the conversation with your gods, your guardians, and your ancestors, so that you get to be the one to build your spiritual path, and it becomes a unique and personal experience. So important and so precious to me that our spiritual paths remain ours and that they are not tinkered with by somebody else or somebody else's agenda. So like and follow and share this video and stay tuned, because we're going to really get into this thing and have you all practicing and building and growing. Thanks for stopping in. Dreamwalker here of Dreamwalker Wisdom. We're going to talk about states of consciousness for journeying. Now, as I mentioned before, in order to journey, we are trying to change our state of consciousness. And we have brainwave states that we're working our way through in order to get to the place where we can more easily and more intensely interface with spirit. And the first of those is called beta. Beta is awake and alert and listening and talking and moving and grooving and having a good time, right? Then we have alpha. Alpha is relaxed awareness. That's where you're capable of going on autopilot and forgetting like the past 5 or 10 minutes worth of whatever. That's also where you're more likely to get like phantom smells and see shadows out of the corner of your eye and things like that moving around, because you're just a little bit more open, a little bit more receptive at that point. And then we have theta. Theta is where we're headed to when we are actually trying to journey. And theta is laying in bed, not asleep, not awake, somewhere in between, where you're already starting to see images that are almost like dreams, and you can end up feeling like you're floating or falling and jolting awake. Now that feeling is your spirit typically starting to move, starting to rise up out of your body, and you becoming aware of that. And you get scared a little bit because it can feel weird. That's a tough brainwave state to maintain and stay fully conscious in. So this takes a lot of practice in order to get good at, so that you don't dip all the way over the edge and end up asleep and missing out on the entire experience. So that's it about brainwave states today. Like, follow, share this video out. Join me next time where I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual experience of journeying and some do's and don'ts. Take care. Dreamwalker here of Dreamwalker Wisdom. We're going to talk a little bit more about journeying. Let me tell you something about journeying. The stuff's real, okay? The things that you do while you're journeying, they may seem fantastical, they may seem dreamlike, but it's very real. I use this tool to heal people, okay? I've stepped out of my body, I've traveled across the country, and I've made profound change to someone's health using this tool. So the stuff that you do and experience while you're journeying, it will follow you back to ordinary reality. I don't say this to scare you. I say this so that you understand the seriousness of what we're getting into, right? But very much like the normal world, the physical world, the trick to staying safe is kind of the same, right? Make good choices. You know, bad things can happen, especially if we aren't conscious, if we aren't thoughtful around the way we treat ourselves and others. So if you drive drunk, you're probably going to get into a car wreck. If you smoke cigarettes, you're probably going to get cancer. If you go home with a stranger from a dark alleyway, you're probably going to end up in a basement putting lotion on your skin. If a spirit you have never met before, ever, asks you for a lock of your hair and some of your blood so that they can teach you their secrets, bad things will happen, right? That's a good time to practice boundaries. So understand moving forward that this practice is very impactful and real, but it's also amazing, and it's empowering, and it's healing, and you will have beautiful and unforgettable experiences while you are journeying. It is one of my favorite things in the world, and I'm very excited to teach it to you and for you to get started on your own journey. Thanks so much for stopping in. Like, share, follow, spread the good news, check out all my socials, and we will come back again soon to talk more about some of the nuts and bolts of journeying. Take care. Cain Dreamwalker here of Dreamwalker Wisdom, going to talk to you about cosmology for journeying. So that is sort of the organization of the universe, if you will. We have three basic directions that we can travel: up, down, side to side. If you go up, you end up in the upper realms or the ascended realms. And that is a place of orderly energy and light. That is where you're going to run into a lot of deities, a lot of ancestors, and light beings that could be considered angelic or angels. It's a very geometrical kind of place. You'll find cities here, cities of light exist in the upper realm. Very interesting place. Then there is down. If you go down, you end up in the underworld or the lower realms. Don't be afraid of the name, right? The underworld is just a place of raw, primal energy. That is a place of life. So it's going to have a very natural feel to it while you're exploring it. You're going to be in forests and caves and oceans and lakes and things like that. When you're wandering around the underworld, it's also where you're going to run into a lot of guides and guardians. The underworld is also where lost knowledge ends up. Typically, lost magical technology can end up in the underworld. It's a really fascinating place. It's also one of the safest places to journey to, and it's where we send students to begin with for that reason, so that they can find helpers, essentially, and start to kind of stretch their journeying legs. And then you've got side to side. That's crossing the veil. That is where most earthly spirits live, and where we can interface with like a tree and stuff like that. It's also where we do all of our healing work. It doesn't matter if you're right in front of me or if you're on the dark side of the moon. I'm going across the veil and traveling through the middle realm to get to you and do all of that. So that's it about cosmology today. Like, share, and follow this bad boy out. Let's get as many people journeying together as we possibly can, and join me again soon for more discussion about journeying. Take care. Hail and welcome, Cain Dreamwalker here. Going to talk to you today about methods of trance for journeying. So this is a big topic and going to take a few installments. Today we're going to get into old school. And what I call old school are like ancient civilizations and tribes. All right? So they used some pretty industrial stuff. A lot of it included plant medicine. And many of you are used to hearing about like ayahuasca, for example, but that's tip of the iceberg for the stuff that they would use, all right? And we have to understand that while it was very powerful and would take you places, it had some drawbacks. Number one, once you take it, you're stuck there. You have to ride it out until it's over. Two, a lot of these concoctions that they came up with, even though they were experts in their field, the stuff could be dangerous. It was poisonous to a degree. And that could end up leading to blindness, all sorts of physical illnesses and things, or even death. And it was a sacrifice that they were willing to make because of that whole courage piece of being a spirit worker that I talk about. And they wanted to heal the village, and that was part of pursuing that path, right? Nowadays we have what I refer to as soft plant medicine that we can use to help with some journeying sometimes. Lots of qualifiers there, right? Sometimes. And that includes things like mugwort, damiana, and kava kava. Again, though, once you take them, you're kind of stuck there. So I strongly encourage that you don't rely on plant medicine to journey, that you use it maybe in the beginning to get yourself used to journeying, or at times where you're really struggling to connect or reconnect. So that's it for today. Thank you for stopping in. Like, follow, share, tell everybody about me, and come back tomorrow so that we can talk about using rhythm for trance. Take care. Hail and welcome, Cained Dreamwalker here. Going to talk to you about using rhythm for trance journeying. I love using rhythm for journeying. I teach it to all of my students. I use it myself almost exclusively. It is fantastic because of a few reasons. First of all, I have total control. I can turn it on, I can turn it off by starting and stopping a rhythm, right? That is important because if I'm in the middle of a journey and I need to stop for some reason, especially if I'm working for someone else, and I need to ask them a question, or if they're uncomfortable with something that's going on or that they're feeling and they need me to stop so that they can talk to me or just terminate the session, they can do that. We can't do that if I've just megadosed on shrooms, right? Doesn't work like that. Other thing is, it doesn't require much setup, doesn't require many, if any at all, tools. So I can do it anywhere that I need to, anywhere that I want to, and I can be zipped away and doing my thing, right? Now, when we're doing journeying using rhythm, I teach and use a 3-phase system. The first phase is the intention setting phase, and that phase is literally used to focus the mind to prepare for the journey. The next phase is the actual journey rhythm, which is between around 160 to 200 beats a minute, depending on the person, sometimes depending on the situation. Sometimes it'll fluctuate a little bit as I'm journeying for different reasons. And then there's the callback, which is where that rhythm gets disturbed, kind of suddenly jolted and broken up. And then there's a super fast rhythm for a couple of minutes to let me know that it's time to come home and to get back into my body. So that is using rhythm in a nutshell for trance journeying. like, share, and follow this video out, and check out all my different socials on Linktree. Tomorrow we're going to get more into using rhythm for journeying, and I'm going to show some examples. It's going to be a fun time. Take care. Hi guys, cainedreamwalker here from Dreamwalker Wisdom, and we are going to talk a little bit more about rhythm with journeying. Specifically, I'm going to get into tools, okay? So, first of all, good old classic, right? A buffalo drum. This is a wonderful tool to use for journeying. This one is specifically synthetic headed. I prefer synthetic heads on my buffalo drums when at all possible, purely because we don't have to worry about the tune going in or out while we're using them, and that can get kind of distracting to some people, especially if you're outside and the humidity's fluctuating, or you're shirtless by a giant bonfire dancing around and singing, you know, those things. Stuff like that drastically affects a natural headed drum and can honestly ruin it. And I have natural headed drums, and they're beautiful and they're wonderful when they sound like they're supposed to, and they're really great to use. But for most people, a good synthetic headed buffalo drum is great. It's got a nice round sound to it, right? Then we've got rattles. Now, rattles are good for those of us who sometimes need a sharper, more demanding sound, all right? A drum is really like calming sometimes if you're not focused enough, and that nice boomy kind of resonance can end up lulling you to sleep. But rattles, being nice and sharp, can hold your attention a little bit better sometimes. They're also easier to use with only having to use one hand. Sometimes when I'm in session with a client, I'm walking around them, placing crystals around them, oils on them, herbs around them, things like that, and only having to use one hand makes a really big difference in doing that. So that's going to be it about tools for now. We're going to get into some more journeying stuff soon. Like and share this out. It was good seeing you guys again. Much love, fam. Take care. Hail and welcome, Cain Dreamwalker here. Going to talk to you a little bit more about journeying. So before we actually start banging on things, I want to get into how to go into a journey properly. So first of all, you need to know where you're headed and why you're going there. The intention setting phase of a journey, okay? Journeying is hard. It requires a huge suspension of disbelief. It requires you to put your ego on a shelf so that it can't get in the way. Because the moment that you start thinking too hard about what you're doing, it's going to climb up into your journey, it's going to get up into your self-confidence, and it's going to change the journey. And then you're going to come out of it like, was that even real? Did I just make that all up? And there's going to be more confusion and self-doubt than there is going to be reward and answers, okay? So we always want to focus before we get into a journey. And really, I recommend you take your time. Have a little ritual wrapped up in going into journey, especially in the beginning. And it can be as complicated and as long and drawn out, or as simple as you need it to be in order to get you to that point. When I first started, my pre-journey routine took longer than the journeys I was taking, which were only about 5 or 10 minutes at the time. But I would spend 10-15 minutes setting the space, cleansing the area, listening to a very specific song, going through the same routine of walking in a circle and honoring the 4 quarters every single time. And that helped put me in the right state of mind to be ready to journey. So figure out what your ritual is going to look like. Figure out what you need to do to wind down so that by the time that you start to drum or rattle or listen to a drum or a rattle, you kind of already have one foot out the door. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, share, and follow this video. Follow me. Check out all of my links. Support me on Patreon. We all got bills to pay. And I will hopefully see you again soon. Love you, fam. Hail and welcome. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about journeying, and I want to get into the actual phases of drumming and rattling. All right. So a couple of videos back, I talked about the intention setting phase. That is where you decide where you're going, which here in the beginning, we're all going down, right, to the underworld, why you're going there. So in the beginning, your initial intention should be, I am just trying to get to the underworld. That's all you need to do. Once you get there, have a seat, look around, see what you think of the place. It's going to be pretty cool. And then come back and do that several times until you finally get to the point where you're comfortable getting into trance, going to the underworld, getting into trance, going to the underworld, coming back home. All of that, super important process to get used to and to get comfortable with before you transition onto, I am going to the underworld to find a guide. I am going to the underworld to find a guide. And that can take time and repeated attempts. And anytime that you first get into journeying, you're not going to be able to do it for long. It takes a while to build it up in your brain so that you have the stamina to stay down there and to stay focused for very long. So starting off in 5 or 7 minute blocks is really good, and then work your way up to 10, 15, 20 minutes until eventually you can journey pretty much for as long as you want. That's going to be it for today. It was good talking to you guys. Like and share and follow, and we will meet back again to actually start talking about the cadence of drumming. Take care. Hail and welcome, cainedreamwalker here. We're going to talk a little bit about the actual journey rhythms, or cadences, if you will. The first one, that one that I've banged on a bunch of times now, the intention setting phase. So it happens 3 times to give you the opportunity to set your intention, because that's your North Star while you're journeying. That will help drive you in the right direction toward what you're trying to accomplish. And it sounds like this. And you follow through that, setting and resetting and setting and resetting your intention, either repeating it out loud or in your head 3 times. And then the actual journey rhythm is pretty quick. somewhere around there, in order to drive that consciousness, force those brainwaves down into theta. And then once your journey time is up, we have the callback phase. And that is an interruption of the journey phase or journey rhythm, and then kind of an even faster bring back to stimulate your nervous system a little bit and bring you back up out of theta and back into your body and into awareness. So it's going to come from the journey. And now you're home. Welcome back, right? So there are recordings of journey tracks on the blackfeathermysteryschool.com. You can get to there through my link tree. I recommend that you give those a shot because those are actually me drumming, and use the exact layout that I just showed. Thank you for stopping in for another talk about journeying. Come back again soon, and I'm just going to keep rolling with this topic. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about. So like, share, follow, and I will see you again. Take care. Hey fam, cainedreamwalker here with some more talk about journeying. So today I want to get into places of power. These are spots that exist within the ether, within the spiritual world, if you will, that are unique, and they hold specific power and specific purpose for you as a practitioner. And you may have many of them. They're kind of like little nooks, little pockets, if you will, that are scattered about the other worlds, the other realms. And it's important to start off by hunting one down when you begin journeying, because it is a spot within journey space wherein you are essentially the god of your domain. You hold absolute and total control over everything that is and isn't allowed to happen there. It is where you can go to safely commune with other spirits in a way that keeps you in power, okay? It is also a place for you to draw power into yourself for healing and things like that. So what are other places of power? Well, I'm glad you asked. They can be for a lot of things. They're typically for specific purposes, right? So I have one that is an ancestral place of power, and it is a throne that sits by a river of blood. And if any of you have ever done ancestral work, which we'll talk about eventually, you understand that the river of blood is very significant when it comes to ancestral magic and ancestral work cleansing. So as a beginning of your journey practice, if you get into it, I strongly recommend, after you find yourself a guide, that you ask that guide to show you to your first place of power. Go there, deck it out, decorate it, get comfortable with it, get strong. Thank you for stopping in. That's going to be it about journeying today. Come back again soon. Like, share, follow. Please support me on Patreon. I love all of you, and I look forward to talking more soon. Take care. Hi there, Cain Dreamwalker here, Dreamwalker Wisdom. I'm going to talk to you about safe journeying in the middle realm. So, talked a lot about the lower realm and about how great it is, and you can go down and explore and meet friends and find magic, and it's a good time, right? Well, the middle realm is important too, because it's where we do a lot of work as spirit workers, and it's where you can do a lot of work to heal yourself, and it's also where you can do work to help others. So the middle realm is very much a spiritual equivalent to the physical world. It's going to look similar, but there will definitely be some differences. What precisely, I can't say because it depends on where you are. But not everything in the physical world has a spiritual representation that is going to be easily identifiable as that thing. So like, for instance, a crystal that you may work with, instead of it looking like a crystal in the middle realm, you may just run into its spirit instead. Same thing with like trees and other rocks, and stuff like that. Now, one of the best ways to practice safely journeying in the middle realm is laying in bed at night before you go to bed. And you can just use your finger and tap the mattress beside you in the journeying rhythm. And then you step out of body and you can explore your own home. Now, our homes should be pretty well warded. If you're at all into witchcraft, which I would imagine you are, you should have a well-protected home. And if you don't, then you'll probably notice that pretty quickly when you get out of body, because you'll get to see what all of those wards and protections look like. And it gives you an opportunity to inspect those and figure out where your defenses could be better. That's going to be... Hi there, Cain Dreamwalker here, going to talk to you some more about traveling in the middle realm. So I mentioned last time about journeying in your own home and how it's a good opportunity to take a look at your defenses. Now, if you are not kind of on the up and up with warding and protecting your own home, while you're journeying around it, keep in mind that the universe communicates to you when you're journeying in ways that make the most sense. So if you see a crack in the wall, if you will, then that's a sign that your defenses that are crumbling a little bit. And how would you fix that? Well, you can take a look at what the wall is made out of in the spirit world. Your home in the physical world is probably drywall and wood and plaster and things like that. But in the spiritual world, it could look different. It could look like a cave. It could look like a castle. It might look like drywall. Consider the material you're working with and use that to fix it, or go fancy and go with that like broken teacup gold to repair it thing, where you have a crack in your wall and you fill it full of light and energy and power to repair it. That's another way to go. And it's a good way to practice moving energy around and healing things also, to get you prepped for when you actually start doing some healing work for other people. It is important to have a strong security system at home to make sure that you stay safe spiritually, energetically. So do that work, and you will find that the stronger your home is, the more settled and the safer and more comfortable that it feels to be in as well. And that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Like, share, follow, support me on Patreon, and we'll talk again soon. Hail and welcome. Cain Dreamwalker here, going to talk to you today about traveling to the upper realm. So the upper realm is a really great place to go to for healing specifically. I've talked about doing some healing work in the lower realm, but the difference here is that in the lower realm, we can largely gather energy to heal ourselves with. In the upper realm, that energy is energy of order. It is there to set things right, to set things in accordance with sort of their higher purpose their design, if you will. That's partially why all of the deities that live in like big cities in the clouds and things like that are found in the upper realm, because of that idea of structure, the construction of elaborate places and spaces, which means you're also going to find a lot of good places of power in the upper realm that specifically are aligned with healing. Your ancestral guides and guardians often hang out in the upper realm, along with like light beings and things like that as well, and they are there to heal us. So if you happen to find yourself in the need of some straightening out, that's a really good place to go. And it's also really great to go there to learn more about healing arts. Your ascended masters of healing tend to hang out in the upper realm. So that is a wonderful journey to take, to find a healing master and speak with them and see whether or not you can possibly have a tutor, if you will, or a mentor relationship begin between you and one of them. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping in. It was great seeing you all. Like, share, follow, support me on Patreon, please. I appreciate every single one of you who do. Drop in. There's lots of free stuff there too. Take good care of yourselves, and we will talk again soon. Hey guys, going to talk to you about journeying. So we're going to talk specifically about safety tonight. We've already talked about the 3 realms: lower, middle, upper realm, where to go, why to go. So the lower realm and the upper realm are typically pretty safe, right? But no matter where you're traveling to, just like a neighborhood could be safe, things have the possibility of kind of going sideways. I want you to make sure that anytime that you are journeying outside of your home space, so that means leaving your home in the physical realm or leaving a place of power in one of the astral realms, I want you to make sure that you have 2 of 3 different kinds of shields. There is the self-generated shield, and that is where we use our own energy to create a boundary of sorts. Fire is nice, right? Things don't like touching fire. You can also use barbed wire, thorns, razor wire, broken glass, a wall of stone or metal, whatever suits you. Then we have constructed shields. Those are our magical talismans and necklaces and bracelets and, crystals and stones and stuff like that that are able to create protection for us. And then there is a gifted shield, and that is a shield that has been created by an outside entity, such as one of your guides or guardians, ancestors, or deities. I know that that's a lot, and I'm going to actually get into shielding in the next series of videos. But before we wrap up journeying, I want you to make sure that you're doing it safely. So use those shields, get to journeying, learn, explore, experience, follow, like, and share this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to talking more with all of you. Take care.